felt Donkey was pretty well prepped. Transmission was fairly new, engine been to the builder only one race before. We had all new shafts, all sorts of prep was done to it. Really felt like the car was going to be in a strong and good spot.
Yeah, up and beyond this year, the prep for Donkey, Dave and the team did, obviously prior to me getting here, I felt that Donkey and all the other cars were in a really, really strong position. It just, you just get, you get here, you just get that feeling that it's going to be a good year. Yeah.
When we got to Lake Bed, it was interesting because we wake up and all of a sudden it's a winter wonderland the next day. It was kind of crazy. I'm really glad Pip pushed me to put the awning up the night before.
When we rolled into Hammertown, we rolled in sort of mid-afternoon into Hammertown, and we're like, righto, let's knuckle down, let's knock this awning out, let's get set up. And we'd just been in the car in the semi for 24 hours, so it was a bit of a task, but we belted that out and then woke up in the morning to, not directly in Hammertown, but driving through good 8 inches of snow was something different.
It was fun. We had a lot of fun doing that. But the car felt really good prior to that. We haven't felt that car handled that well in years. So we had a good feeling going in shock tuning. And probably about 20 minutes in, maybe 30.
Yeah, it wasn't long. Yeah, and we experienced
I get a phone call. And when I get a phone call whenever he's supposed to be driving, it's normally not a good sign.
I knew that I'd be making panic.
So
I really did.
So I come to find out that the transmission had some issues, and so we had to go tow it home and get it fixed.
Yeah, so that was our first roller coaster down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going from a high to being set up to arriving on the lake bed with snow to this really steep downer transmission. So
then we find where they're at because we're at the middle of the desert. So I go to help recover the car, and Wayne's ecstatic. He said, "I don't know what you did to the car. It feels great. You just get the transmission." So we get it, and then the other car decides to have transmission problems 20 minutes later. So it was a bit of an emotional roller coaster for us.
it was just to have both those cars in a position where we thought we were over ready.
Yeah.
To go to a position where, oh my God, we have some work ahead of us. Was a shock, but with everybody there and everyone's positive attitude, we really got them back to camp. We got Bob first, remember?
Yeah.
Chunky.
Yeah. So there was an issue recovering the cars. We got stuck at the shock tuners. The truck got buried, the trailer almost down to the frame. Took 2 vehicles to get it out. It just felt like we were having to fight tooth and nail for silly little things.
Yeah, it was unreal.
Then we got back to the shop and everybody kind of worked together.
Yeah.
And we were able to get the interiors out of the cars, we get the transmissions pulled in a pretty good time, and I called up Gearworks and talked to Barry, and they were more than willing to get it going. So we pretty much drove straight to Las Vegas the next morning and had a 1-day turnaround, which was an amazing thing. And we had damaged a torque converter, so Mark from Dynamic worked wonders and got one overnighted to us, which was just above and beyond.
Yeah.
So we were able to get the cars repaired within 48 hours of the issue. So we were thinking we were really good then.
That's a big shout out to Gearworks and Dynamic, because without their quick turnaround and their support, it would have been game over before it begun. So just want to make sure they know that we appreciate that. And
very much.
Yeah. Without companies like that behind Rufus, it just doesn't make it happen.
So we go out on the pre-running, and this is after the drivers' meeting where they had told us explicitly we're supposed to be doing 25 miles an hour. So we did our best.
35, 25?
25.
Oh,
We were doing our best to do 25 miles an hour. Maybe a little closer to 40.
That's a long distance.
It's a long way. But there was nobody there. We weren't doing anything bad. It's a race car. You kind of have to go a little fast to get your notes. So we're doing 40, just kind of cruising, keeping it easy, not a lot of RPMs, having a good day. Our buddies are following us in the Can-Am.
Yep. And then the car, which we now know it as, I call it, dead stick. It's we're just bopping along, doing our 35 or 40, whatever we're doing, and just car turned off.
Yeah, and so it was such an immediate ending. We just thought it was an electrical issue. So we tried to mess around with it for a while and start testing this and that. We should probably put a test light in one of our bags at this point.
Yeah.
But we come to pull the spark plug out, realize we have spark and we can see fuel, we can hear fuel, and then all of a sudden I realize that there's not a combustion event happening and I don't hear anything moving. And we realized that we think we lost a timing chain. So in the middle of the desert, I make a phone call and I call up another person who comes to our rescue and saves us.
Supports us, yeah.
And I call Samir from Drum Racing. And he pretty much drops everything he was doing.
He did drop everything, yeah.
To grab all the parts we needed and drive 6+ hours to us, gets a hotel room and waits for another couple companies to open to get the rest of the parts, and shows up on the lake bed. I mean, the van buys a wristband and does everything he can and shows up to get there. And at this point, we're having multiple phone calls back and forth. I'm trying to figure out if I have a whole bunch of bent push rods and things like that. You're in the middle of Scott's qualifying, and it's just kind of an event. But it's one of those things that make memories for sure.
Yeah.
Whenever you got to take the bathroom vanity mirror off so that you can roll something on a flat surface, it tells you something.
It does. So for Samir, for Grom Racing, it was a product failure.
It wasn't his fault.
Nope. But he, like Dave touched on, he dropped everything and absolutely got right behind us. And same thing without the Grom Racing engine, without Samir, and his dedication to making sure that we would make the race, we wouldn't have been here again. So just want to make sure that we appreciate, he knows that we appreciate him and his support. It's, you just don't come across people like that very often. So.
And then we're also fortunate enough to have another person, John Webster from TRS, Total Racing Solutions. He's many late nights with us, figuring out why it's running funny. And he was there right after that, helping us, retune the car, get it going. So it just takes a mountain of people to really come across the line.
That's right. When Johnny turns up at the semi trackside at 10 o'clock at night
after his own race,
you can't ask for anything more than that. That's appreciated. Look up in the sky and go, you just give us a break.
Yeah, whenever everything's going wrong and we're trying to put the engine together,
we always talk to the net.
It feels weird whenever you rip an engine down to a point you can see all the guts, and you're in a place you're not supposed to be. You're not in a clean environment. They're doing qualifying. I'm watching just dust motes and clouds roll in on my fresh, pretty engine, and you're covering it up in a trash bag. And you just got to deal with it. And then we get it all together, and I'm looking at him because he's willing to help as much as he can. But I said the best thing you can do is get out on that qualifying course.
Yeah, that's what we did.
I'll build the engine, take the wide open, do laps, because that's all we can do.
Yeah, so we split up as a team, and Dave does his position like nobody else as the head mechanic, and myself as a driver, we both knew our roles, so I get out there and why am I doing that? I get out there and run the qualifying course 5 times while Dave's in there slogging his guts out, working on the engine.
He
roller coaster.
He absolutely nails it. Come qualifying day, it's the first time the car's been on the course. First time I've even seen it. I am not a co-driver. I'm a co-rider at this point. I'm just a cheerleader. And he killed it. I mean, it was great. I'm sitting there just, it's a roller coaster of, I don't even know where to go. Just, looking at the sky, bouncing off the ground, hitting rocks, doing this, doing that. And he goes, oh, here's the pinch rock. And he nailed it.
It was good, yeah.
It was amazing.
We had so much fun. Qualifying was good. So I guess to talk about our qualifying run, we had a couple of goals, which was to keep the tyres on from Maxxis running the new spec tyre. So I wanted to make sure that we pushed them hard, but we wanted to make sure, get through the rock sections, that we still had all 4 tyres on our car, because there was still 50% of the qualifying course as a short course to do, and it would have had a great effect on us if we had got a puncher up through the rocks and then trying to do the qualifying course on a flat tyre. So we achieved that goal, pushed hard enough, and happy with our results. Like Dave was saying before, Donkey has never felt better, and I think that speaks for how, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but how our end of the day, how our race was going. It was a credit to everybody. Donkey is it's just coming alive, yeah.
So jumping onto the course for the first time, and we're not entirely sure if the engine's going to hang together, because I got it together at 11:45 the night before, and you're just sitting there thinking, you know what, it's going to be a good day no matter what, because we've tried, we've had fun, and in the middle of all of the fight, I'm still enjoying being with my buddy. We're not crossed with each other. We're just saying, even though this is work, it's still a vacation. We just got to make this fun. It's been months and months and thousands of dollars to get here. You just got to do it.
That's right. Definitely nervous. There was definitely a mix of nerves and excitement to get in the car, because I guess the excitement side for me as a driver was that I guess I'm feeling at the moment the most comfortable I've ever felt in Donkey, and the nerves were to perform for everybody so that we could perform for the team. And our sponsors and the people that stay behind us, make sure that we perform for them. Everybody that watches from home, because we know that there's that many people from Australia watching as well. So it's like, hey, spotlight's on you. Let's go as fast as you can and don't stuff up once.
Whenever we finished the qualifying run, I was over the moon because he just absolutely crushed it. I know we could have probably been a little bit faster, but for what we've been through, it was one heck of a run. To the point I even hit the radio coming back through there and saying, hey Chip, suck on that.
Yeah. And then you said sorry.
Yeah, then I said sorry.
Oh, he's probably doing it in the middle of his qualifying.
Yeah. And we beat him by 6 seconds, so it was good.
We did, yeah. There was a little bit of bragging rights there to come through quickest out of the team. So, just put that little feather in our cap. That was pretty cool. The oldest car coming through first, so it's always a little feather there. I guess we the next few days waiting for Race of Kings, the lead up to the race. We made the decision not to go and beat on the car in the rock trails. So we took the wide open design buggy on a few trails and really
in our old race razor.
In the old race razor, yeah.
Took a lot of notes.
Yeah.
A lot of notes.
So a lot of pre-running. We went out and completed our pre-running on lap 1. And we took a little bit of a different approach this year, sort of a bit different for Dave, where we over-noted the desert. I think, what did you say we had? 200?
We had 436 notes. That did include the waypoints that were already pre-mapped, but there's only 65 of those.
So,
and I always kind of explain it as being like a submarine captain, because what he was planning for is the same thing that I'm always worried about. It's the dust. You can't see. That's where I come in as a co-driver. I got to be his eyes, and he's got to be the man behind the wheel and sticking it. So it's kind of a three-legged man race.
It sure is. And we just felt with over-marking the desert, with all our dangers and everything, it was going to keep us safe as driver and navigator, and also enable us to hold speed and hold our own in the desert against some of these bigger IFS cars, knowing that we can still push hard in thick, wipe out dust, and still be safe, knowing that we've marked every obstacle that's going to potentially upset our race, upset the car.
Whenever you're in a full brownout and the only thing you can see is the guy's chase bar in front of you, and you just watch it drop down into the dust and come back, and you're like, hey, there's a whoop there. You know, it's that kind of scenario. You can't even see the numbers, you can't see the car, you just see the light disappear, and you know that there's something in front of you in about 1 second.
Yeah.
Race morning, I got in the car feeling pretty confident we were going to be good. The car was sounding good, starting better than it started in a while. Just, she felt solid and good.
Very solid, yeah. We had, our emotions were relieved. Relief would be one word I would use. Relief, excited, just to get in the car and start the race. I feel less pressure on race day than I do in qualifying myself. I don't know about you, but just because, you know, the team's done all this hard work and now it's go time, you know, so everything that's done has just been a lead up to this point, that now it's time for us to, you know, pull our big girl panties on and get down to business.
Yep.
You know, for the team, because everyone wants to get the best result for their outcome, their work that they've put in.
Were you just worried about beating Chip?
That's coming.
We're sitting on the line. Donkey's feeling great. Smiling, waving to people, you know, Pam's coming by, everybody we know, lots of fist bumps, lots of smiles. Been moving the car, been starting just fine, we're ready. And as soon as they actually start sending people after the anthem, he goes to fire the car up.
It fires up and then it just dies. Like it started the car. My son Tyler had staged the car all morning for us, so he'd been stopping and starting it all morning for an hour.
Gets up at 6 a.m. in the cold, moves the car out for us, and lets us have that little extra hour of sleep.
Yeah. So this is another one of our roller coaster moments. Start the car, the staging is moving, and the car runs for about 2 seconds and then turns off.
Just absolutely dead, didn't struggle, didn't do anything, just lights out.
And he's Dave's like, what's going on? I'm like, it just turned off. He's like, try and start it. Tried to start it, we got nothing.
Yeah, so after a couple 15 tries and little stuff, Donkey's always kind of been my Herbie, the little, slug bug that just has its own personalities and its own gremlins, because it's just an old car. And as a mechanic, I know all these little things, so in little tricks, and sometimes it's just funny. I touch it and it'll start and it won't do it for him. It's just silly.
Yep.
It didn't. It was dead.
So Dave just gets straight to it, undoes his belts, and sort of jumps out, jumps in, jumps out, jumps in. I get to the engine fuses.
Yeah, I started going after fuses. I'm worried about the timing set again.
Because we don't have resettable circuit breakers because we've got fuses.
Yeah, it's an old car.
Yeah.
And I ripped the tool bag out and started yanking spark plugs right there on the starting line. Because I'm going, oh my God, tell me that we didn't just lose this motor again. All this work feels so great.
Yeah.
And I finally see that there is sucking and pushing out of the spark plug hole whenever the spark plug's out. And I see that there's no spark this time. And I'm like, I was so excited. I popped up. I said, it still works.
It's still working.
It's electrical.
Yeah. So Dave starts just going mad at the wiring, and in between our seats, right beside me, is all the relays and fuses, and he finds one of the fuses. Basically the main computer fuse is blown. Like that fuse has been in there.
It wasn't blown. It just wasn't making a great connection. I'll chalk this one up to possibly corrosion, because all I did was wiggle that wire, and she started.
And it started. And by this time, the best part of our crew, the other guys, had all sort of run around, and we're just getting back in, and we're like, no, it's all good, it's running again. So we're like, thanks anyway. So when we start suiting up again and sort of getting back in the car.
Putting your tool bag back together, Velcro it back on the floor.
Panel back on the car, and it's like, oh my God, we're at the start line.
Putting on a show.
So we just wanted the challenge. So then we say to the closest official, we sort of call him over, and we're like, hey, we're running again. Can we go back up to the start? And they said, no, you're starting rear of field. And
we lost
our hearts.
Yeah.
Sank. That was pretty. Yeah.
It was
an emotional moment.
He looked at me and didn't miss a beat. He said, we're going to
Stephen Bradbury the hell out of this. So if anyone doesn't know, Stephen Bradbury was an ice skater for Australia, and he was in a race, and he wasn't the quickest ice skater, and he was running last, and everybody crashed, and he ended up getting gold. So we're starting from the back. Guess what? We're going to Stephen Bradbury the hell out of this race. So we found a positive side of it, and it was time to get our checkered start.
We suited up. We started. Took the gap jump. Beautiful jump. We were a little nervous because we hadn't even jumped the car much. Didn't know how this thing was going to perform. It was something else we had to qualify and we were worried about.
Yes.
We didn't even know how the car would take those jumps. So we've already watched 3 or 4 cars not make the jumps.
Yeah.
But we come out into the desert on lap 1 start, and we just start watching the attrition set in like it always does. And we probably passed 10 dead cars by the time we made it into the desert.
Yeah, even before the desert, the first 10 miles.
Rollovers, near misses, crashes. It's an event.
Yeah.
Lap 1 was an event. We saw just so much happening. We were passing people like they were standing still in the desert. We were sniffing out fresh, clean air, had all the notes we needed. We knew when we could hammer down and when we couldn't. Watching lots of IFS guys and other solid front axle guys. Just picking them off. There's plenty of people who were probably tired of seeing that Texas Star outside of the car. And then things started getting weird in the car. Radio started beeping.
Yeah,
and we lost comms for a minute or two, and then it came back on. We had added a tracker into the car, which we were honored to get one of the prototype trackers in the car, which means I had to take the Lowrance out. I guess I didn't secure the Lowrance knob on the passenger side as much.
That's right.
And so we're belted, suited in, and I just watched this knob fly across the dash, and the Lowrance, which is my key thing I look at, starts bouncing up and down. So I'm having to hold this and hold that and still make the calls so I can read it. And it was an event, but boy, we were on fire. It felt great.
We were motoring, that's right, yeah. Like, I look over at Dave, we start bombing through the desert. And we said at the start, if we can hold our own at the desert, if we can hold our own against some of the bigger cars, we'll be in with a shot,
We got a rock crawling race car. We're not worried about the rocks.
Yeah. So we start bombing through the desert, and Dave's over here hanging on to the Lowrance. We're bouncing up and down. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I've lost my knob. he's trying to hang on to the Lowrance, and I'm trying to push as hard as we possibly can. He's trying to call out the calls. Oh, just fun times. You couldn't predict it in a million years, but
that's what a race is, though. It's just overcoming all those little obstacles.
Yeah. I don't know how many times on lap 1 we said, "Get out of the way, get out of the way." We're coming through, and lap 1. Yeah, it was pretty epic.
Lap 1 was fun.
Yeah, knowing that we were holding our own, and to just go off this roller coaster that we were started. The car wasn't running. We were starting last, and then all of a sudden we're just knocking all the competitors off, and we're like, "Hey, we've still got this.
I think
we're still in this race."
I think we were still singing and joking with each other at that point.
Yeah,
I think it's a very important part of being a co-driver pair that we have a good dynamic and we get along.
Yeah. So after lap 1, lap 2.
Lap 2 felt great. I think my favorite part was what I would call buzzing the tower, where we came back through and no one knew where we were because our radio was dead. But we come in hot through the short course, right there in front of our tent, and I mean, he laid down just the perfect.
It was good. It's good to
drift in corners and beautiful.
Yeah, it's good to swing past the team like that. They were having problems with that tracker on lap 2. We're having problems with comms on lap 2, and just to come in hot, pedal down to the floor and swing it around and just seeing everybody cheering.
Mm-hmm.
So then we come back through and do the desert course again, which I wasn't worried about. Now we got clean air.
Yeah.
And boy, we must have been booking. And we're absolutely flying. And, we get into lap 2, we get into the rock portion, which
before we got into you'll recall this, before we got into the rock section, I'm bombing along and I'm holding this car, this Grom Racing engine is singing. We're bopping along, we got a bit of clean air. And I'm like, God, and I said to Dave, I'm not exactly sure what I said to you, but I said, God, if I could only keep this bloody car straight, we'd be able to go faster. And he goes, boy, you're doing 95 mile an hour. I'm like, oh, are we? Down the track,
he was going, oh, Dave, I got it flat. I think we're down a cylinder. I was like, no. So I don't tell him how fast he's going or much. I just tell him he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
And he was. Then we get into the rocks and start laying it out. We didn't get to pre-run all the rocks. Didn't really know what we were getting into. But like I said, I'm not worried about it. That car can handle it. He's a wonderful run crawler. And he takes a spot if I ever offer it. He takes it. And we passed a couple people who were stopped in some interesting areas, took a few hero lines and just made it look like easy to it. And had a great lap too, really.
It really did, yeah. Some of the lines we took were spur of the moment, car stuck. Well, it looks like we're going left, looks like we're going right. And we're really, Donkey really performed.
Yeah, it just has so much low end run, right over stuff.
And whether we ran our tyres at 28 psi, and it just seemed that the compound of those new Maxxis, the new Maxxis razors, they were on point.
It was a wonderful ride.
Yeah.
Lap 3, I was a little excited about because we hear that it's trails that have never had a tire. We hear that some of the stuff was set with the drone. No one's pre-ran it, so the fact that we didn't get to really run the rocks a lot really kind of said it's an open playing field. We were excited.
Excited, yeah, 100%. Totally agree with that. Rufus Racing, being from Texas, obviously don't get the opportunity to just nick around the corner to Hammers and go do some pre-running. And myself being from Australia, it makes it quite difficult to duck over and do some pre-running at the Hammers, So we do always feel a little bit of a disadvantage in that sense, but to us I felt just leveled the playing field. I felt excited to hit lap 3, mystery lap, that was probably the most exciting lap for me.
So then we bomb the short course again, get through the desert. We get to just about where we blew the timing chain up before, which I haven't mentioned. It's about mile marker 24. And the car starts getting hot. We hadn't had temperature issues all day. I rewired all the fans, new wires, new connectors, new fans. And it just was like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
So we started seeing 250.
We were bombing through the desert. We had quite a few moments. It was a cracker. Puts a smile on my face every time I think about it. Carrying quite a bit of speed, so we had time to fly along. The car just dies. I say to Dave, I'm dead stick. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I've got nothing. So Dave reaches in between the seats.
So we're belted in fully in all our safety gear. You can't see, I can't turn my head past here. If I do, I'm turning my head in my own helmet. And I know which wire it was. So I start jiggling the wire, car comes back, he's like, I got you! And so he's back hammering down, and I mean, we're doing 90.
Flying along, yeah, cars, a bit more! We're good again! Yay! We do a fist pump, you know, the car's running again, and it did that a bit.
We did it a few times, but you know, luckily I knew somewhere in the back of my brain what wire to tickle.
Yeah.
My fingertips just went right to it.
You just needed a little tickle. And then that didn't slow us up, but it just made for some exciting times.
Made for a giggle.
And then our heating.
Yeah, so then we start getting hot, we pull over and look at it, and I get out. We've had some issues with that car, it's just got its own little gremlin. And all our wiring and stuff is good. The fan wires, the pigtail off of the fans were gone.
The factory fans that we were using.
Yes, were you?
Yeah.
We hadn't swapped over yet, but the wires had just melted completely clean off. So we started getting in the car, trying to see if we could get 6 extra inches of wiring out of it to hot wire a fan. Because at this point, we're not stopping for some fan.
Do you remember you pulling the old wiring loom out and you're about to snip it off and you're like, I'm sorry, donkey. And he's cutting wires off to get wires, and he's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So we're stabbing it in there, watching sparks fly, and nothing's happening. And so then we just had to start limping. But
we're on a roller coaster.
We probably were diagnosing it for 20, 30 minutes. It was almost an hour by the time we started seeing live traffic catching up with us. So it was just before that. Pip was looking at me going, where is everybody, Dave? I'm like, oh,
yeah.
We got clean air. There's nobody behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, so we did that, and then basically we diagnosed that both our fans that we used to use died. We really only had one option if we wanted to keep progressing, was to make pit 2, which at that stage was it 3?
We were thinking it was 3.5 miles, but then I really started looking at with all the dog legs that go back and forth, it was probably closer to 4.5. And so we made some big corners and got into the rock sections, had to stop 3 or 4 times, finally get into the rocks. At this point, you're looking around for anything, and there wasn't anything we could do. But
yeah.
We finally bebop along and see the Wixons come across. We're talking to them, it was kind of interesting, they're checking on us.
Yeah.
Sure we're good.
Our temperature range was wait until it got down to 220, and then we'd drive until it got to 240, stop. And then it was like, okay, this is a nice place to pull up in the shade. Just wait there for 20 minutes, half an hour.
Sometimes we'd wait a little longer, be 200 or something, and we just try and keep going, but you're just listening to this thing sound like a little percolator coffee pot bubbling.
Yeah.
And you're losing all your coolant.
Oh yeah, that brings us to that point.
It does.
So Dave comes up with this great idea because we've been running the engine hot, not too hot, but 220 to 240. That was our window. And Dave's like, you know what? I bet you we've been burbling a bit of water off. I think we need to get some more fluids into the car. So
We only had a about a gallon of water between the two of us, and I drank half.
Yep.
And luckily, I was wearing a racing catheter, so I was able to get the hot radiator cap off, which he thought I was crazy for even trying.
I did, yeah.
Do not try
Try
that.
yourself.
That's something that steam will absolutely gulls your hand.
So when you're in the middle of the desert, where do you come up with fluid?
So I had to give Donkey an IV drip of my own making, and Pip wound up having to do the same thing.
Yeah, mine was a bit.
You didn't have your catheter on at this point. You'd
So-
already stepped on it and removed yourself.
Dave was standing, so in there, there's a picture of us that was on the King of the Hammers live, and me standing on the roof. And nobody really knows why we were standing on the roof in the middle of the desert. But that's because
That's where the radiator is.
Dave had just finished exchanging his bodily fluids into the radiator. And then I climbed out of the car previously and stood on my own catheter, ripped that poor baby straight off. That was it.
It's
So I had to get up on the roof. If you can imagine laying over the roof in the middle of the desert trying to pass on some bodily fluids into the radiator. That's what was happening.
Yeah, so just
That's
about,
why we're on the roof.
just about that time, the drone shows up. So
Yes! Like he didn't show up 5 minutes earlier, they would have seen me in a weird position.
mounting the car.
Bouncing the car, yeah. That's one of our roller coaster moments.
And because of that amount of fluids that we were able to get, because we dumped everything we had in there, all of the water in our bodies and in the car, we were able to make the last mile instead of doing like 400 feet at the top.
Yeah.
In the rocks. And then a helicopter shows up and we're limping along doing like 50.
Yeah.
But the helicopter's there like, cool, we're going.
Got a fist bump. Hey, what a piss up.
It's a good time.
It was, yeah. And then we got to, finally got to remote pit.
And I've been able to make a phone call, and Scott and the boys showed up with new fans, and we were able to hotwire it straight to the alternator and continue on.
Make sure we want them to know too, you know, obviously we're in distress, sending out SOSs, and then the whole team, you know, you turn up there at remote pit, which no one wants to go to remote pit, right? So hats off to everybody. The backbone of remote pit that helped us out there, you know, without remote pit we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't have finished. We pull up there and it's just a swarm of guys again, the whole team is there and just get this back.
We had multiple teams. We've been doing this long enough, we've made lots of friends. So Tommy from SEI, I guess he called his race. They were there handing us waters. Tom refilled our camelbacks. They got us coolant, they gave us a funnel, they gave us everything we needed. Patted us on the back and said, go.
Yeah, bit of we got some compressed air. I don't know even know who those races were.
Oh yeah, because you burped a little bit of air out of the tires.
Yep. And we got some compressed air, and just you know, I mean that's Rufus, isn't it? The people running to help.
He made a promise that he was going to end on those tires.
I mean, we did. We made a promise. So the guy, there was a funny moment there where we pulled up at when we pulled up and we were getting the car all fixed. Somebody said to me, they sort of said, "Hey, move out of the way. We need to change this tyre." And I'm like, I just noticed there's a jack under the car. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" They're like, "We're going to change this tyre. It's got big gashes in it and stuff, and we've got freshies." I'm like, "No, nobody touch the tyres." I said, "We started on those Maxxis tyres, and we're going to finish on those Maxxis tyres." And we did.
And we did.
So yeah.
So while we're bopping along in the rocks and we're having fan issues,
Stopping and starting.
and we started having all these ideas, and I started seeing these other race cars that are sitting there, and
Nobody's around.
and you're wondering in the rules, is it allowed to borrow a fan? You know, because they're not using it.
Dave wanted to leave an IOU.
Yeah, I don't up to 100. You know.
Sorry. And we're like, and then we threw a few ideas out there with what we could do. You know, when you need a fan and you're passing race cars that are dead but they got good fans, it's like walking past a Walmart.
You get to go shopping.
But we decided we come to our senses. Yeah, we thought, could you imagine if we're in that situation and they needed an engine fuse and they came out with an engine fuse and then they find they got no radiator fans? They would be there.
We were only going to take one. We only needed one.
Yeah. They'd be pissed. But it was, yeah. Anyway, that was one of the ideas we were throwing.
Yeah.
We were spitballing a few things.
I told them we're finishing.
Yeah.
And we did.
You did.
We were starting our lap 3, and that's when everything failed. And so we were tasting victories, and we had a fair amount of defeat. And it didn't necessarily drain our spirits, but we weren't near as happy as we were, because just every time you stop and wait, it just drags on and on and on.
Yeah, so one of the biggest moments for me was when this is probably going back a little, but when we were sitting there, this is before we got to pit, we were sitting there, and somebody's not going to like to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. We were sitting there in the shade waiting for our car to cool down, and I'm like, God, you know, guys are so much in front of us, you know. This is a shame that this has happened. I don't have a clue what I was saying. I'm sure Tyler will let me know what we were saying, let us know what we were saying. And I said, Chip will be miles in front, and Dave's like, no, I don't reckon. I reckon we were a long way in front of Chip. And I'm like, can't be. You know. And then, you know, whatever it was, 3/4 of an hour later, wow, there goes Chip, and I'm like, no, this makes it even worse. We're way in front of Chip. So, yeah, that was I know Chip doesn't want to hear that.
We have a gentleman's bet between each other every race. Somebody has to pay each other $1.
Yeah.
We beat each other.
Yeah, I owe him a couple of dollars, and I think now it's maybe it's even. So, but that was a moment. Yeah. So
then we start lap 3, and we were kind of deflated because we were excited. We were going to finish hammers in the daylight, and like solid daylight, because this started at 2:30, 3 o'clock. I don't think we got the car back together until about 4:30, and it gets dark about 5. So then we start the rocks, and we start having to kick out the lights. And so we start doing we start doing the hard rock trails we've never seen. And whenever there's no light outside, you can't judge your shadows. And so you can't see how deep some of these holes are. You really can't gauge things near the same. It changes your approach.
even though we got the best lights in the industry,
For sure.
you know,
Many as you can stick
radar lights, yeah, it still casts shadows on rocks. So drop-offs and black holes, you can't see the bottom.
When you're crawling up 4-foot boulders, it's dark.
I will say that after we lap 2, everyone helping, after we went left remote pit on lap 3, our spirits really lifted, and we really,
Once we could go,
we hammered down.
once we got those fans on there, the temperatures were under control. And I went to go put coolant in the car, and there was still enough left that was spitting coolant instead of steam. I was like, all right, let's go.
It was spitting stuff.
Yeah, we'll call it that.
But yeah, we really we did push after we got our fans fixed, and I reckon Dave won't say easy or for another 6 months. You know, he's all out of easies and but
Hit a lot of rocks.
testament to the car and the team's work on the car that at lap 3 we were still pushing as hard in lap 3 as lap 1, and it really everything stood up to it. Like we said, that our tyres, our Vision rims, our engine, our Grom engine, everything was still feeling 100%. So there was no need for us to back off.
Yep, no, we were in it. We knew that it got hot, and it's going to need some love, but she was still kicking.
Yeah. So then lap 3 rock trails, that mystery lap, that was my favourite part, even though I was in the dark. Winching, we do a lot of winch challenges and stuff back back in Australia, so winching is a big part of racing that we've done in the past, and racing in Australia in general. So it's right down my alley, and with Dave having all the experience he does, running cable and longer pools rather than short little pools, and then rehashing, just getting past an obstacle and foreseeing there's actually 2 or 3 obstacles there. Let's run all our cable out.
Still wants
and get through those sections. But it was so much fun, and I think it brought more fun to it, more excitement, knowing that everyone was in the same position as seeing these trails for the first time. Hats off to Dave Cole. You made an epic course.
It says a lot when we're still having fun. When we're the last 60 plus miles, I've got 2 gallons of coolant between my leg. The tool bag is not strapped down. Straps, and things, and stuff. And you're still just having a ball with your buddy, just holding everything you can.
Yep.
And making sure nothing gets loose. He's like, "Here, hold my Gatorade." And it was half done. I was like, "Man, if this thing rolls under a brake pedal, sorry, man."
Screaming at each other, not out of frustration, just trying to hear each other, because everyone knows how loud Donkey's engine is, and you can't change that. No. But just Dave's outside the car, and he's like, "I can't hear you," and I'm trying to slow down, talking in English, and Dave can't understand my English sometimes. I'll pull my helmet down and I'm screaming at him, and just screaming the words, not screaming any obscenities, and just great memories. They bring a tear to my eye just thinking about it, honestly.
It was good. Honestly, if everything was still going, he and I both feel like we could have gone a couple more rounds in there.
Yeah, we have said that, yeah. But if we had got back to that start line and Dave hadn't been on there and you had said, "Surprise, there's one more lap. Okay, let's go." That's how much fun we're having.
We start getting through the desert. We're still running through the lake bed, 100 miles an hour at night. And I have to yell at him, slow down, left, more left. You're going to miss it. You're going to blow it. Because it's a big, long, swooping corner. And he's full. And we finally get it in there. We get a start. We start dropping resolution and then back door. And we're like, all right.
Start sinking in.
It's like, don't you screw this up. Like we were this close. Like we got a drop back door. Do that just fine. And then we hit that short course. And don't. I can't tell you how many people screw up in the last 2 miles. Before you get home. We had to bring it home.
I was thinking of not backing off a little bit.
We come through the start line on 2 wheels with smiles on our face.
We did. I can remember that feeling coming in there, not knowing that we had no radios, knowing that we couldn't announce to the team, "We're coming home, we're coming home." God.
He hits the tabletop jump, almost clears it. Well, that sucker was still singing just fine.
Yeah. Just it's an honour. I'll say it's an honour to hang on to the steering wheel. I know I'm crying like a bloody schoolgirl, but I really feel like it's an honour to hang on to the steering wheel of a team like Rufus Racing. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We're just the lucky ones that get to sit in the car. It takes a whole army to make a car go around there, and what a credit to the team. 4 cars, the Wicks Racing, Scott Farley's, the 4800 car, the 04 car Irene, and our 78 car, all finishers of this year's King of the Hammers.
And what a great course.
Yeah. Amazing. Dave took a car that started dead last, that was in physical third at one point. That is something to be proud of.
I'm emotional with it.
I've been working on that car for 7 years. It's the first car we started with. Everyone wants to do and has their own opinions, but I was writing my acceptance speech, in lap 2 and 3 about every donkey has its day. And I'm just glad it finished because I knew it had. That car is not made of wood.
Like we just got out of the car. Oh, shivers. I say shivers a lot. Just to do well is
Just to finish.
Dave runs the hardest off-road race in the world. So this is why we do it, to challenge ourselves.
It's the best feeling in the world whenever you come across that checkered flag and you know that it's over and you did good, you did everything you got. Seeing your entire team, your family, Mama Ange, even your photographers, which you guys do a great job, smiling and crying and laughing all at the same time. That mixture of emotions is what it's about.
Yeah. Fist pumps off people that have got tears tears running down their face, knowing that everyone knows that my family and Koopy made the selfish decision to stay home for my daughter's schooling this year, knowing that she was at home crying and
It wasn't selfish, it was
selfless, sorry. Just knowing that feeling that you've done it for everybody.
Now, what did she do for you?
She does everything.
She organized the surprise.
She organised the surprise. She organised my son Tyler to turn up, and it turns out the whole crew, everybody knew except for me. Even the Mackenzie and Tyler standing behind the camera knew that Tyler Justice, my son, was turning up as a surprise before, a week before race day to help with the car prep and to be there for King of the Hammers experience.
We get it all organized. I was originally planning on picking him up, but wound up having to go get the transmission rebuilt, so we make Pip go. It's very vague in detail, but he's going to pick up a surprise person at Starbucks.
Yeah, this was so strange, and I never really. So, and to go into this, my surprise package, the guys are going off to do the transmissions, and she's like, "Hey, would you go run some errands for me?" I'm like, "Sure. What would you like?" So she's like, "Oh, can you go to a coffee shop in Palm Springs, which is an hour and a half away?" I'm like, "Okay." She's like, "I need you to pick somebody up." I'm like, "Okay, who is it?" She's like, as vague as hell. You'll know him. You'll know them. You'll know him. You've met him before. I'm like, okay. So who is it? You've met him before. You'll know him when you get there. So I say to Ange, and I'm like, what the hell? I still, I may not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but I'm like, so. I say to Ange, so I'm going to a coffee shop an hour and a half away, and I'm walking in and going, who needs a lift? Anyway, and they're like, yeah. And they threw some lines at me that were putting me off, and I'm like, maybe it's a buddy for Ange.
Yeah, we're all a team of pranksters.
Yeah. So I drive Ange's rental to Palm Springs, pull up there. I'm like, okay, this is weird as hell. I walk in there, walk into the coffee shop, and here's my, no, I can't remember it like this yesterday. Here's my son sitting there. He's like, hey Dad. And I'm like, what the hell? When? Where? How? And Tyler's crying, and I'm crying, and I'm hugging him, and I'm like, ah! But you guys, the whole team pulled off what an amazing surprise, and it really did make a difference to have one of the Aussies, one of my family members over there. So it really did make a difference to me.
When I hug him, it's not the same.
Yes, that's cool. So yeah, a surprise that just keeps on giving on. You know how you talk about those moments and those things that you'll talk about the rest of your life.
That was his race.
That was one of them.
Pulling off the Triple Crown, as I would call it, I count the Wickses as a team and a family member, but having 3 actual Rufus cars coming across the stage is a big deal whenever not a lot of people finish this race. What was it, 100 people start, 20 people finish?
That's right. We had a bit of time to do the calculations.
And we're 6% of that.
We're 6% of the finishes, so. No, we were, I think that was the wrong calculation. I think we were 20% of the finishes. Wasn't there like 20?
Didn't you say 20% finished and we were 6 of that?
6
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, 20% finished, and we were 6% of that 20%. So it's pretty bloody epic.
I was proud for him to come across. I knew Chip would do it. He's kind of the cockroach all before when it comes to finishing King of the Hammers. He's never going to get a great score, but he's going to do it.
Yeah. The cockroach. He's like the gift that keeps on giving you shitty Christmas presents.
It's time to wear the stockings.
No disrespect. Hey, he gives it out as much as we give it back. So, hey, he's.
I think he's finished, yeah.
God damn, cockroach. You cut off a cockroach's head and it still lives for something like 2 weeks. That is Chip. That moment.
Having 2 cars on the stage at the same time, taking that photo.
With everybody up there.
That was up there with Zandy finishing his first time. That was a photo opportunity we're lucky to have been given the chance to do. And it was emotional, it was amazing seeing both cars up there nose to nose and everybody around it. Seeing Dave Cole fist pumping and jumping on the side of it, going like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. It was great.
Yeah, Dave Cole passing you a drink, saying congratulations, boys. Congratulations, team. That up there, you know, when there's all cars up there and you look around at all the hard work, I know the main man's face isn't there, but you know he's there. He's amazing. It's epic. It's life changing. Like you say, talk about those moments that, you know, when we're going to be hopefully 80, 90 years old, hardly talking, maybe your kids wiping your bum, and you'll be like, I remember. Yeah, I mean, it's those moments.
It's one of those priceless moments that you'll never forget.
And it's you know, we've got to shout out. It's brought to us by Zandy's vision and Angela's passion to keep Rufus running. You know, that's like giving back to Zandy and Ange.
We can smile and know that we did a good job.
Yeah.
And no one can ever take that away.
Yeah. Just, I guess on that note, I want to make sure that everybody that's involved in the team, and not even just the immediate team, because you've got their team members, but you've got your wife and children, my wife and children. You know, everybody that's in the team has a partner that in some way, shape or form makes sacrifices to make Rufus racing a family. They do, everybody does.
It's an event even getting to California.
Oh.
You're always worried about flat tires, long drives, God only knows what. You know, Brad's windshield caved in on his bus. You know, it's always something, and you just have to stick with it.
That's right. Like Brad's partner Laurie, everybody makes sacrifices, and it's just you need to say thank you to all those people. You know, you guys behind the camera, you're never in the limelight. Mackenzie and Tyler. And you're sitting over there. But
Even Gary helps.
Big Gaza, you know, everybody that supports all our sponsors.
Our sponsors really came through. And the people that I can call friends that we buy parts from. Made this hammer possible for us.
For sure. They sure did. Everyone rose to the challenge, which it was, and I've used the word roller coaster a lot this year. But to come out on top, to get all the cars across the line, what an effort from the team. That's a feather in the cap.